Hello friends, welcome back to another Goldfishing companion video. My name is Nathan, this is the Salty Productions YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing a couple of playthroughs of my Superfriends deck helmed by the Prismatic Bridge. If you haven't already seen the deck for that video, you can check that out in the description below. I'll have a link to that video so you can see what this deck is aiming to accomplish. Ultimately, we are trying to cheat out as many planeswalkers as we can, and then we are going to try to ultimate them to end up winning the game. Without further ado, let's hop into the playtester here. One of the things that I will caveat at the beginning of this is that Superfriends decks are really hard to goldfish. A, because of the land searching takes a long time, but B, it's because it's hard to make assumptions around which planeswalkers survive and which die. Often you'll find that if the table will collectively gang up on you, it's hard to keep a planeswalker on the battlefield, which is why so much of this deck is geared towards just spewing them onto the battlefield as fast as we can. So I will tentatively make the assumption that our commander will only trigger once because the Prismatic Bridge tends to be a magnet for removal, and if it sticks around, we tend to be able to win the game anyways. And then also I'll assume that our planeswalkers are able to stick around between 1 and 2 turns if we don't have blockers on the field. They tend to succumb to combat damage quite easily, and so I think that is a fair assumption. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have in our hand right here. We have 2 lands and a Sky Shroud Claim. So I think we would probably want to send this hand back, although let's just see what our next land is. All right, we'll actually go ahead and play this hand just because, so normally I would mulligan this hand. Normally we're looking for 3 lands, but I think just for the purposes of testing here, let's just actually go with it now that we've drawn our 3rd land. All right, we've got a Sky Shard Claim, which is a nice piece of ramp. We have Deploy the Gatewatch, which will cheat planeswalkers into play, and we've got 3 walkers here. So Vraska is great to help us proliferate. Ugin is great as a board wipe, and Sorin is just a great burn spell. All right, so let's go ahead and play Ketria Triome turn 1, and then we'll go pass. We probably want to play another Triome here, so we'll play our Wooded Foothills or Flooded Strand, and I think we want to crack, so we need white mana and we need black mana, and we do have mana fixing available with Sky Shard Claim, so I'm not too concerned about what we get with this early land drop. So I think we want to get white, black, and green here, so I think we'll go Flooded Strand and we'll crack it for an Inditha Triome, and that will enter tapped. Then we'll go on to turn 3. I think we'll do another tapped land here, so we'll play the Polluted Delta. I think we want to get something, well, with possibly black, so we can possibly cast the Sorin here. We probably want white, black, and red. So I think we'll crack this for a Savai Triome, which is the red, white, black Triland. Then we'll go next, still not having a permanent on the field. So by now everybody has their commander on the field, so we want to start to, this is where the Superfriends deck is a little bit slow because we want to be able to cast something to help us defend at this point in time normally, but with a Superfriends deck we really just have to continue to ramp here. So we'll do Sky Shard Claim, and I think we'll just search for more Triomes. Zagoth Triome, and I think we'll grab a Jetmir's Garden, and that will enter tapped, and all of these are used. All right, so turn 5. Now we've got a ton of mana to play with here, so I think we're going to play our Windswept Heath, and I don't think we have any 1-drop, so I think we're safe to crack this for, so we'll grab a Raugrin's Triumph. And we have basically all of our color fixing done. Now, Selvala Stampede is exactly what I want to see on turn 5 because it's just better than casting the Prismatic Bridge at this point. So I think for 6 mana, we're going to go ahead and do that. So Selvala Stampede basically reads, we are going to vote to dig from the top of our library until we hit a creature card, and then those creatures go on the battlefield, and then we may put a permanent card from our hand on the battlefield for each free vote. So generally the way this goes is that opponents will vote for free. So we're just going to go ahead and put Vraska, Ugin, and Sorin. Now our copy or our option will resolve first. Let me resolve that actually. So we just need to dig until we hit a creature card. All right, Kodama of the East Tree will enter, which is so good. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're gonna send all of these back to the deck and shuffle here. Okay, so Kodama will enter. It will enter first, and when we put all of these cards onto the battlefield, we can put permanent cards from our hand onto the battlefield equal to CMC equal or less than those permanents. So that just means we get to drop our Wooded Foothills here, and we'll go ahead and probably just crack it for like a Bayou, for example. All right, now we have a lot we can do here. So with Vraska on the field, I think we want to smash that 0 ability to draw a card and proliferate. We won't have the opportunity to draw in between the Kodama entering and the Planeswalkers hitting the field because all the triggers go on that stack, so that's totally fine. Ugin, we can pick something off for 3, or we can board wipe for the -X, and I think what we might want to actually do is just do its +2, and then we will hit Vraska 0 after that, because that way we can ultimate Ugin next turn. And similar thing with Sorin here, we're going to threaten a couple of ultimates. So just be aware that once you're in this position on board, you're basically the arch enemy now, because if we had Sorin Markov in ultimate position, every opponent's going to be swinging everything they have so that that doesn't happen. So I think what we will probably want to do is minus our Sorin down to 1. We're probably going to +2 Ugin to pick up a utility creature, and then we're going to proliferate Vraska. So we're going to lose a life here and draw a card. Now, I have to think of a way to track this, and it's going to be tracking this with plain old pen and paper. One of the deficiencies of the tapped out tester is that we can't track loyalty counters very well. So we'll go to next turn here, turn 6. We have, so assuming that these are still in play, we would be able to ultimate Ugin. We could also, we would be able to tick Sorin up. Sorin has 2 loyalty right now, Ugin has 10, and then Vraska has 7. So we have a couple of options here. So Tezzard's Gambit will allow us to proliferate again, and then deploy the Gatewatch will get us another walker here, and we can also cast the Prismatic Bridge. So I'm going to assume that our opponents have attacked our planeswalkers, and so we don't have the ability to ultimate Ugin, given that we only have a 6/6 reach blocker. See, this is where it's hard to test Super Friends, because we would know what our loyalty is, which really determines the outcome of the game here. But let's go ahead and cast our Gatewatch Beacon. Then we're going to play Deploy the Gatewatch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So look at the top 7 and put up to 2 Planeswalker cards from among them onto the battlefield. So right here, we've got some great options. Let's see, so it's 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so our 2 Planeswalkers are going to be Garruk Apex Predator and Elspeth Sun's Champion. And then I believe these go on the bottom in a random order. Oops, that needs to go in our graveyard. And then I accomplish that just by hitting the shuffle button here. So then we'll have Kodama triggers, but that won't allow us to put anything from our hand into play. And so now the Gatewatch Beacon will trigger, so we'll move 2 loyalty counters onto Garruk and Elspeth, 1 to each of them. So Elspeth will be a, let's see, 5 loyalty. Garruk will be a 6 loyalty. So we would want to uptick Elspeth for the blockers. So Elspeth would go up to 6. Garruk would go up to, let's see. So we probably want to slam the +1 there, or maybe even the minus to destroy something. We're going to assume the plus to just sort of march us towards the ultimate. So Garruk would get up to 7 loyalty. Then we would hit the Vraska Proliferate here. So we would draw a card and we would put a loyalty counter on each of these. So Vraska would go up to 8. Ugin would go up to some indeterminate amount. We're assuming that he wasn't able to ultimate, but at this point he would be able to probably be pretty close to that again. So if we just assume with our last count, he'd be at 11, and then Sorin would go up to 3. So he would be able to burn somebody out again. And then we have 3 blockers here. The key here is that we probably want to be continue to create tokens, and then if we can ultimate the Ugin, we would gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, then put up to 7 permanent cards from our hand onto the battlefield. And at that point, I think it's enough to close out the game. However, if we were to just keep playing this out here for another turn, we would be able to cast Creative Technique and then Tezzeret's Gambit. So let's just resolve this one more time. So we're going to shuffle our library and then reveal until we hit 2 non-land cards, because we're going to populate or demonstrate it. So we would hit our Vivid Surgeon's Insight and our 3 visits first. These would go back, and then Exotic Orchard would get shuffled. Okay, so we would get a Forest, and then we'd be able to draw 3 cards and proliferate, and then we would be able to cast the Tezzeret's Gambit to draw 2 cards and then proliferate, and then from there we would for sure have an ultimate. And let me just check our ultimates here. What would happen? So Ugin would be able to just generate us an insane amount of value. Veraska would give somebody 9 poison counters. Garruk would give target opponent an emblem with whenever creature attacks you gets +5/+5 and gets trample until end of turn. And Elspeth would give our creatures +2/+2 and flying. So I think from there we can sort of summarize how the game would go. We would just dump everything onto the field, and then we would have, more triggers off of Vitali if we were able to ultimate the Ugin, etc., etc., expand the sphere. We could proliferate again. So I think that is a successful showing, and we would have victory probably by turn 7 or turn 8 here. So let me do one more goldfish here. So I think we'll send this one back because we only have 1 land. I think we'll send this one back as well. We have 2 ramp pieces, but only 1 land in here, so I think we'll just have to send it back. And here, let's run with this hand. So we've got 3 lands and a Farseek, which is perfect. We've got Lorien Revealed, which can also function as a tapped land. So I think what we want to do is Farseek can fix us for colors. Lorien Revealed can fix us for colors. So I think what we want to do is play the Windswept Heath and crack it for an OG duel. And my apologies, I think of turn 1 here, I need to draw my first card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so we'll draw our first card. Okay, perfect. So we'll play the Bayou first. Then we'll cycle the Lorien Revealed to search for. We'll grab a Xander's Lounge. That will go into our hand. Then we'll go next turn, turn 2. So then we'll go, we need an untapped land here. So I'm going to play the Taiga and tap for Farseek. And we will put out maybe like a Zagoth Triumph. So that will enter tapped. Farseek will go to graveyard. Then we'll go next. Ooh, Open the Way. Okay, that's even better here, because that means we can cast Open the Way instead of Teferi. So we're going to Windswept Heath, cracking this for probably just a scrub land. Then we will tap 4 to Open the Way, where X is equal to 2. So we will reveal cards from the top until we hit 2 land cards and put those on the field. Oops. We have Opulent Palace and then a Bloodstained Mire. And these will go on the bottom, which we're going to accomplish with a shuffle. So Opulent Palace will enter tapped. Bloodstained Mire we will crack for a tapped land. Probably just a Zaitor's Proving Ground. That will enter tapped. All right, then we'll go next. So now we have the ability to cast our commander, the Prismatic Bridge. Or we do have 6 mana in hand, so we could cast a Kodama's or a Great Intelligence's Plan. So turn 4, I think we're thinking that our opponent's boards are pretty scary, so we probably might want some blockers. And we definitely don't want to just run out the Doubling Season without the ability to make use of it right away. I think we want to maybe hold on to our Great Intelligence's Plan until our opponents are lower on their cards to make the Villainous Choice more in favor of us dropping something into play. I mean, we also don't really need the card draw at the moment, so I think the move here is actually to play our land, and then we want to cast 6 Kodama of the East Tree. So this way, if we were to play the Prismatic Bridge, for example, we could drop it to fairies next turn. Then, all right, so we've got 7 lands here. So I think we'll play our Jetmir's Garden, 6, 7. If we play a Doubling Season, we can play out a Teferi for free. And then theoretically, we can actually, on each uptick, add 2 loyalty to it. So if we were to play this, if we were to play Doubling Season this turn and then to fairies, and then we activate as +1, that would put he would go to 5 loyalty, then 7, then 9, then we could ultimate him. So I think we're actually going to do that. That seems pretty good. Doubling season, Kodama will trigger and we will cast it to Fairy. Now, at this point, we are definitely once again the arch enemy, so just be careful, folks. So we're going to uptick him, putting him up to 5, which I'm going to track on my handy dandy little paper here. And then we're going to draw a card, then discard a card. So I don't think we really need the Nature's Lore necessarily. I think we're going to discard that. And then we're going to continue to uptick him on our opponent's turns. We've got Kodama here, so we're just going to do that once again. I think we'll bin, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We probably don't need another land here. I think we're just going to discard that again. And then we're on our next opponent's turn. We're going to do the same thing with Arid Mesa. Excuse me. And then I think we'll be able to ultimate him. So that would be to 5, so 7, so 9. So now it comes back to our turn, and let's just assume that the doubling season has been destroyed at this point, because that is a magnet for removal. The Teferi, now we can ultimate to take 2 extra turns after this one. If we do, I'm going to assume that's game ending, just because that's just a ton of value in that ultimate. But we're just going to assume that he doesn't ultimate for the purposes of this playthrough. So next, let's see here. We have a read ahead with Urza Assembles the Titan. We can possibly play Great Intelligence's Plan, hope to drop the Soren Markov with the Villainous Choice, and then we play the Urza Assembles the Titans off of Kodama of the East Tree. So that's what we'll do here. Once again, just trying to cheat as much stuff into play as we can. So Great Intelligence's Plan, draw 3, then they face a Villainous Choice, and we're going to assume that they probably discard 3 cards, or just for the purposes of this test, I think it's fun enough to assume that we get the Villainous Choice. Although with Kodama on the East Tree, I think they would probably choose to discard 3 cards, knowing that we could play out 2 different walkers here. But if they chose to put our card from our hand into play for free, we would cast Nicol Bolas, the Planeswalker, into... And then we have a Kodama trigger, and then I think we would probably play Urza Assembles the Titans. So then we would probably have it enter with Chapter 2, which says you may put a Planeswalker card of mana value 6 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. I'm going to assume that we probably need a board wipe at this point because we only have 1 blocker at the moment, so we would play the Chandra for free. Then we would have another Kodama trigger to then play Soren for free off of that. So then next turn, we would be able to then activate all of our loyalties, abilities of Planeswalkers we control twice this turn rather than once, and we would still be looting off of Teferi or phasing things out if we needed to. Now, once Nicol Bolas enters, we'd probably want to destroy target non-creature permanent to continue to plus it to get to that ultimate. Chandra, we would -3, and Soren, we would probably -3 as well. Next turn, and I think I would have to play that land. And then we have a Teferi's Pro to get us to the next turn. Once Urza Assembles the Titans triggers for Chapter 3, we would trigger everything twice, and then we would have a bunch of looting in between then. Oh, actually, you know what? That would affect it because we would have the Teferi. So I guess it's hard to assume what Teferi would be at if we would continue to be looting off of him, but if we didn't, we would have the Teferi's Pro ready to get us to that next turn. From there, I think we would be able to ultimate, and let's see, do we have any other card advantage on the field here? Just a lot of mana advantage. So we would be top decking. This deck likes to empty its hand, but we would then be able to cast a Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh if we wanted. We could then, so this could help us cast more stuff for free, etc., etc. So I think with that, I'll wrap up this goldfishing session, guys, so you can understand kind of how we plan to play out this deck. And really, we are just trying to march towards those ultimate as fast as we humanly can while defending our walkers and just spamming walkers into play. What I'm noticing from this goldfish is I think we do need a little bit more card advantage in our hand, at least with those 2 samples. We ran out of cards. And so anything I think that's similar to a Tezzeret's Gambit style of effect, I think, is exactly what we want in the deck. That proliferate is just so huge. So I'm going to do a little bit more research, see if there's any, even like a cantrip, I think would be helpful, but that would mean we would have to cut more. We would have to cut to make room for that, and I just don't know if there's room for just plain old card advantage in the deck. All right, and with that, I will conclude this video. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on the video. Feel free to subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. Again, I'll be posting more deck techs and more goldfishes in the near future. So with that, hopefully I will see you all in the next one.